Hey guys, welcome to the latest episode of the Beyond the Tape news for January 2021. New year, hopefully this is going to bring a lot of good things to the industry. Hopefully we get this whole big COVID thing under control and we see a few more events. Here at the podcast, we started off things strong with Mike Williams from WRP. Had a chat about him creating his new kind of stems, his new links, and his kind of progression from racing professional BMX to making bike parts and racing the World Cup. We also have a chat with Sam Moore, a guy that's been driven since he was the age of 17. I believe he just turned 32 or 33 over the weekend. He has been super driven. He's the owner of Fist. He distributes a bunch of companies as well. He really helps out and does things well in the industry. He has a really good kind of attitude, super motivational, and just his whole aura is really inspiring. So have a listen to that episode. And of course, somehow managed to get Mad Dog Boris onto the podcast. He is arguably one of the best photographers on the World Cup scene. Like Sam, just super driven, just wanted to do something, got out there and did it. So listening to his story and how he got there and what he's been doing, plus numerous anecdotes about it in his life. Super interesting episode, and he's just an absolute character. So to have the honor and sit down with him was a bit of a surprise and really humbling. Coming into February, we've got a few big names coming up. World Cup racer, perhaps another podcast host, and someone with a truly inspirational story on how they're kind of living life and coming back from setbacks. It's going to be pretty rad. So this month's going to be awesome, and then that's going to lead into the national champs coverage. So if you kind of want to know what you want from national champs, comment below, let me know what you want to see. Might do a live video, I'm not sure, not 100%. We'll be doing track coverage, interviews, bike checks, just general news as well from around the place. So really excited for that. It's going to be rad. Going to be staying with Baxter Mayweld and the crew, so I'm probably going to be hungover for 95% of it. But hey, that's what we're going to deal with. All right, let's move on to the news a little bit. We'll start with the tech. Not much tech happening in January. Usually around this time of year, we start to see things perk up for Sea Otter, but Sea Otter's now been moved to October, which is after Interbike. So we're not really seeing too many sneak peeks of any new products, really. One thing that's kind of been a little bit separating and a little bit of a, not controversial, but people don't really see the point of it, is the switch grade. It's basically a little piece of alloy that attaches to your seat clamp, allows your seat to tilt backwards and forwards. Similar to what the Specialized Woo post did back in the day. They weren't too successful. Basically, they would drop down, and as they drop down, the seat would tilt back right at the bottom. Even though they said they're 150mm drop posts, they only end up having about 125 because of the tilt function. This is a little bit different. It's completely separate from your dropper. It allows you to quickly adjust the angle of your seat. So arguably, if you're going uphill, you want the nose down a little bit. Flat stuff, you want flat seat, and then downhill, you want the nose up, apparently. Be keen to test one of these. So I'll be reaching out to those guys and seeing if I can get one. I believe in it, so it'd be interesting to see if what I believe and what I feel is going to be the same. The Nuke Proof Giga has just been released. Hopefully it's better than the Gigapipe bottom brackets that were released a few years ago and gone out of fashion. It's a big bike. 27 or 29 inch wheels. You got 170mm travel. In the 29, you got 180 on the 27.5 with a 180mm fork. This might be one of those instances where you see people putting those 190 Zebs on the front and having a mini downhill rig. Full carbon frame. It's getting even more into downhill territory with a 63.5 head angle. Looks really cool. Very modern geometry on it. So they've gone to a new kind of linkage driven single pivot design. This allowed them to keep all the links lower down on the seat tube, keep everything low on the frame, and allowed them to put in bigger dropper posts and slam those seats as low as they could possibly go. The suspension curves and everything look pretty cool, but on the frame, the reach, let's say a large reach is 480 on a 27.5 or 475 on the 29-inch bike, which is quite, nimble. It's cool because they've got 5 sizes ranging from small to double XL. So your reach numbers are only increasing 15 to 20 mil max. So you will be able to find a good reach. Your chainstay lengths are 445 on 29, 435 on 27.5, which means it's going to be super playful, agile bike. One cool thing that they've done is not exactly a geometry shift or a flip chip of such, but the main pivot can actually be adjusted with a little switch. Undo an 8mm bolt, switch around this little plastic lever, and it will change your kinematics. So whether you're running air or coil, or you want the bike to feel a certain way, or you want it to be more plowy and kind of, I guess, stuck to the ground more in the wet, then you can flip this little switch, which I think is pretty cool. It's similar to what Canyon was saying with some of their bikes as well. Like, the kinematics of suspension is arguably more important sometimes than 0.3 degrees of head angle, which you see a lot of people saying. Comp comes in at 3,700 USD, while the top range comes at 5,500 USD. So pretty good little bike there. It's not too expensive either. In some weird kind of news, we've seen a guy in New York sue Bontrager over their Wavecell technology. He's been claiming that it doesn't do what they say it will do. He's suing them for $5 million. The lead plaintiff in that hasn't even had a crash in there and has had no damages done to him. So he's just suing because their marketing is bad. They say that the Wavecell is up to 48 times safer than a standard helmet. Not really one to keen to check that. But yeah, it seems like a bit of an odd one. I don't think he's going to win this thing. There are better helmets out there. There's bigger things wrong with this helmet, like the fit is terrible. It's not as breathable because of the Wavecell technology, and I wouldn't say it looks the best either. So I think Wavecell is the smallest issue that comes to that kind of helmet. But yeah, they want to see if they can maybe launch a class action somehow, but yeah, I don't think so. They're trying to find people that have had serious injuries with this helmet. So yeah, a bit of an odd one. Someone just for a bit of a money grab there. Probably works at Nolly. Anyway, in some athlete news from across the ocean in New Zealand, just before Magaza Fest, it looks like Remy Morton had a big digger on the Dream Track and broke both of his arms. So the dude is struggling at the moment. That's brutal, but it's not the biggest injury he's ever had somehow. I'm sure his mates are taking care of him, and yeah, he's in a bit of trouble, but he looks like he's in good spirits as well. So Remy, heal up. A good friend of the podcast, Jai Motherwell, the Mothership, had a massive crash at Magaza Fest. He'd been flat spinning this hip all day long, jumped into a train and kind of overspun or underspun the jump, slid out and just smacked his head on the ground. He also got hit by another bike. I'll put the video up here. Beware though, it's a little bit sensitive.
Yeah, Joy! Quick, pull the bike off, pull the bike!
But huge shout out to everyone that helped him and slowed down the train. No one was like reacting too crazily. Everyone was calm. Everyone knew how to handle the situation. So it is really cool to see that. Somehow it's all caught on GoPro. And yeah, I don't know how he didn't break his neck from a rider hitting him. He did, however, shatter his collarbone, I believe, into 6 pieces. He'll be going into surgery this Friday. So heal up, big dog. For the quick little highlight on a product, I was lucky enough to get some Factor pedals from the guys at Atwill. These pedals are a flat pedal. I switch between flats and clips quite regularly. I usually run a HT clip pedal because it just snaps in and out. I either want to be clipped in or I want to be on flats. There's no half-half. The flat pedals are a bit longer than they are wider, so they give you a good purchase without having these stupid extended things, and they don't look like those stupid freaking brick platforms that people run as well. Super low profile. I think they're around 15 mil thick. The pins are about 10 mil out of the body, so they're super grippy using my 2FOs. 6061 alloy, I believe, so super stiff kind of pedal. Not that that really matters. I'll be excited to see how long they last. I have had issues with pedals cracking in the past, but these look super tough. Sealed bearings throughout, chromo spindles. Really happy with these pedals. To be back on flats as well, foot out, flat out, it's a good time. Now, this is going to be the majority of this episode because there hasn't been much tech news other than people suing other people and some people crashing real hard. Most of this news from the last month has been team signings. So December and November, October, they're all your kind of big team rumor times, but these are team confirmations. Obviously, Graham Agassiz was with Evil for a year, maybe 2 years. He left them last year, and he's now signed with YT Industries for 2021, which is rad. A little bit of controversy here and there with Cam Zink and a few Adolf Silver and others kind of taking jabs at the company, but I think Agassiz is going to kill it on that. He is not Agassiz, he's not going to be playing tennis. Graham Agassiz. Anyway, he's going to murder me for that. Going to be cool to watch him ride those bikes. To join his brother, Fabian, Gabriel Wilmer has joined Canyon. So we're going to see some pretty sick brother techie kind of trials videos from those. He's already released one, which is epic, and the kid can ride. So to see him sign on Canyon and have like a family name with that brand is really cool. Sam Hill trolled everyone, putting out a big thank you post to Nukeproof, saying that things that seemed like he was going to leave Nukeproof, but he confirmed and signed the deal for 3 years with those guys. It's cool to see. He's been developing bikes, and him and Pagey have a super good relationship, and I think that's more to do with his winning than perhaps the bike he's on, because we all know that guy could ride a kid's stroller and rip a corner faster than most of us. Veronica Sandler signs with Santa Cruz, so she's a bit of a free rider from the land of NZ. She's pinned on a bike. Probably one of the best women free riders, up there with Tiny Seagrave and stuff. Don't see enough of her, but she's with Santa Cruz now, so hopefully that changes. Veronica Vidman signed with Madison Saracen, so it's good to see a big team get behind her. She's pinned. Bit of a big signing. Didn't really see her going many ways, but yeah, that was huge. In racing as well, Dakota Norton, who was offered Da Vinci. They seem to have kind of bowed out of downhill. They bowed out when we lost Stevie Smith, unfortunately. They came back, tried again with Dak, and yeah, it just wasn't going right. So he's off, but he's signed with the YT Mob. So he'll be over there with Ocean, with a bunch of other sick riders, like all the youth crew. And Martin Wiley's going to show him how it's done. So Dak having a good team around him is going to be pretty epic. I think he's going to be a big one to watch in 21. Danny Hart signed with Cube. Who knew? So Danny Hart's on Cube. He's gone from a bit of a weird kind of average team vibe by the sounds of it, but he's on a weird and kind of average bike. Hopefully he can make it work for him. I know a few others had issues with them. I've personally never really liked them. They just don't gel with me. They're built quite well and they're good bikes, but I just don't think they're the best. So hopefully Danny Hart can vibe up the brand and get them building better bikes. Pivot has a new youth program with Squamish, which is rad. So they're going to be supporting more grassroots riders. They've kind of already done that with their mountain bike, like UCI teams as well. They've always brought up kind of bigger, little riders and made them a lot bigger. All right, so here's where things kind of get a little bit interesting. We have Loris Vergier signing with Trek Racing, which is big news. No one ever leaves the syndicate. It's very rare, other than Ratboy. I can't think back in the last 8 years of someone leaving the syndicate. Maybe Rennie was the other one, but leaving might have been a little bit of a different thing then for him. But Loris Vergier has gone to Trek and he is swapping up everything. So he's got a new frame, new suspension, new wheels, new clothing, new helmets, new everything. So this is going to be a year to test how good of a rider he is, whether it was the bike or not. Truly, I think he's one of the greatest. He's the next Loic Bruni, or if not the second Loic Bruni. He's going to be able to make anything ride. Now, with Reece Wilson, he's the oldest person on the team at 24, so super young team, super motivational, a lot more energy, whereas the syndicate was a little bit chill, a little bit more kind of older. So this new vibe and new energy from the team is probably going to make him ride even faster. Unfortunately, we're not going to see him with Geordie Cortez, though, because he's now riding RockShox. Can't wait to see what he does on that bike. Apparently, there's a new session coming as well. You've also got, outside of racing, you got Elliot Jackson. He left Giant, which was huge because he'd been there with them for years. He's now with Santa Cruz, which someone called that. I think it was me. But anyway, he's been a huge fan and a huge... he's had a really long relationship with that brand. So outside of racing and everything. So to see them kind of pony up and help him out is going to be amazing. If you haven't grabbed the latest issue of Revolution, there's a sick interview with him in there. Just talks about what he's doing with his fund and getting people stoked on bikes. So it's good to see a brand like Santa Cruz supporting him and his kind of mission. We have... All right, so... Also, you've got Phil Atwill and Mike Jones are kind of doing their own thing this year. So Phil Atwill is a free athlete for Propane, so he's riding their frames. He's not a part of their team, mainly because he's had issues on that team before, I believe, and he left because the team vibes weren't right. So now I guess he just wants to do his own thing with Propane. He is arguably one of the best jibbers around, so watching him ride a BMX and doing spins and everything else, it's next level. He'll be up there with Cade and Chaos, so hopefully he does some bit more of that stuff. But yeah, to see him kind of go on his own program is a big one, so it's good to see. And following trend, Mike Jones is on Nuke Proof again, but he is it's on a domestic focused race program, so he won't be going to as many UCI races, but he's also doing his own thing by the looks of it. So Nuke Proof are a frame sponsor and he's just getting components around it. We saw Lewis Buchanan, who is now in Norco, kind of start this trend a couple of years ago where he left someone and ended up on Forbidden and just created his own program. So I'm starting to think that technology, Instagram, everything else is allowing riders to be more in control of their own future. But on the flip side, you've also got the new Trek race team that's part of the TLD SRAM program. So you've got Valley Hole, James Edmondson, Ethan Shandro, Tegan Cruz. Those guys are a big team. They're a huge number of upcoming juniors. So that's going to be pretty rad as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how the bigger teams go dealing with the athletes that are kind of privateers, I guess is the best way to put it. So super interesting to see this turn in the sport. It's been a big one. I haven't ever really thought of it or seen it before. Another big signing, Rematerions onto Giant Factory Off-Road Team. He's going from arguably one of the plushest, fastest bikes in the world to a Giant. Nothing against their frames, but they are a little bit more kind of pedal friendly. Don't really just eat up all the rough stuff. So it's going to be a completely different bike to the Common Cell. Hopefully he helps them out a little bit and makes their bike a little bit better as well, because it really needs an update. I'm pretty sure that's the same frame from 20 years ago. Nothing's really been changed. In other news, Mitch Ropolato was with Cannondale after being on Santa Cruz for a numerous amount of years. Cannondale seems to be going more down this jibby lifestyle athlete route. So it's interesting. I'm not sure how good it's going for them sales-wise, but in today's times, anything will sell. If it's got stock, it will sell. So it's a bit hard to kind of gauge, but seeing more privateers, privateers, and then these kind of lifestyle athletes come through is pretty amazing. That brings us on to this next segment, which is a little bit of an odd one, but we saw this kind of meme pop up the other day about YouTubers versus racers or people with skills. I think it was Adolf Silva that kind of tipped it off, and then a few others. But it seems to be there's a little bit of a divide between those pro riders that just want to ride their bikes, say like Adolf Silva, or, you know, you got other riders that just want to race, just want to have their results. Like Sam Hill, even, he's not big on Instagram. He's not huge on doing videos. He just has his results. But there's also the flip side with YouTube and things like what I'm doing, and people that can ride their bike but don't necessarily need to go to races that are getting bigger sponsorship. If you think about it, we're 20 minutes into a video right now. I've got a canyon behind me, so you've been looking at that canyon for 20 minutes because we know that you don't want to look at my face. A race, you get maybe 2 minutes on the live feed, if that. If you even make it onto the live feed, you might get some stuff in the raw if you're killing it on Vital, or you might get a couple of videos. But a lot of those guys like Win Masters, you look at the Syndicate program, you look at a lot of other kind of companies, even Fox are doing it really well with their Dialed series. They're bringing YouTube and the media to the race, and arguably they're getting a lot more exposure than anyone else, and a lot of people remember those brands because of that. So if you don't have that media following around, there's no one else going to do it for you. Whether that's more profitable to a brand or not, I don't know. I don't work for a brand, but arguably I reckon it is. There's a lot more kids watching YouTube than there are watching Red Bull. Be interesting to see how this kind of turns around. I don't believe Instagram or Facebook or social media sites, I don't really believe too much in sponsoring athletes or influencers over there, which is kind of a catch-22 because that's what I do. But anyway, I just think that people racing is not enough to sell a brand or sell anything. This win on Sunday, sell on Monday attitude is gone, especially with the way that bikes are updated and coming through. There's no longer seasons, so the whole industry is changing. People can complain about it as much as they want. Even listen to Mad Dog Boris or Sven, they all shot on film. They've all gone from editing 300 a weekend to 2,000 pictures. It's just a thing you have to do. It's what you do to keep up. People that are doing that will keep on succeeding, and the people that don't will fall back. It's as simple as that. But the meme's quite interesting. Be happy to hear your comments below. But yeah, I'm pretty sure it's accurate, but for the right reasons. And on the YouTube thing, here's a couple of edits I really dug over the last month, mainly in the last couple of days. The Danny McCaskill slabs edit is next level. You have to watch that. You have to see it to believe it. It's next. I can't even explain. His skills on a bike, whether it's trials or downhilling or trail bike riding, everything next level. So trials is really good fundamental skill. I wish I'd done more of it as a kid. And then IFHT, the best, most satirical, funny editing and video makers in the industry, the only guys that are willing to poke fun at themselves sometimes. They've come up with a video, time to buy an e-bike. It is the best thing ever. It actually related to me quite a bit because all my mates are in that situation right now and they're all thinking about getting e-bikes. So it is quite interesting. It's a bit of a poke at something that's quite true, something they're really good at. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that little news shout out. 25 minutes in, so that's usually what we try to keep it around. If you've got anything you want me to cover, let me know. But next month's going to be pretty chill, I reckon. But March is going to be a big one with Nationals coverage and a few other things. So hopefully I'll be able to put out a video. Again, hate doing this, but like, subscribe, ring the bell, do whatever. Make sure you kind of support this podcast because, it's going well. And all the sponsors like Canyon, Huck The World, 2Up Bike Code, Dirtsurfer, Crush have come on board to help out a little bit with a few competitions this year. They all really appreciate you guys watching the content and they help me out for that as well. Thank you. And we'll see you next month.